China is for China. China is not for Africa. How can an African be a foreigner in an African country? To gain mentality, we need to let go of the influence of the West, who were still colonized under white supremacists.
Yo, all right. Welcome to FKU Africa Podcast. This is your host Maneza F8, and I'm bringing you now episode 34. I think episode 34. Yeah, that's where we are, and also in a couple of days we're gonna be closing a little while, but not really closing, but we're not gonna be uploading as much since we are going to December time. It's time to go to holidays, so yeah, content will be there. I'm gonna record a lot of content. I'll put on a little bit there and there. So, but today we're gonna be showing you a very exciting a debate. It's a mixture of age, getting wise in age, and and black intelligence. So before we go to it, let's acknowledge the passing of the former president of Ghana, J.J. Rawlings, that died because of some COVID-19 related issues, and also the death of Mongameli Bobani, the former mayor of Port Elizabeth, which is now Nelson Mandela Bay. So yeah, going past that, we say their soul should rest in power. They did what they were here to do. It's now our time to take it forward, to take it a little bit step forward. So this debate, it's a debate from 1993 going to 1994, the first time that South Africa was going into elections. So back then, just to give you the backstory of it, Nelson Mandela was released in 1990 from a prison called Victor Venter, which is now called Drakenstein, just outside Cape Town in Paarl. So he was released, and then just after that he ran. He just got into the negotiations. Then he wanted to run for a presidency for the first time, a black president that was going to be in South Africa. So this is how he was tackling the issues. This was how he was tackling the white apartheid government. This shows his skills, how he was so much knowledgeable on what was going on, and so much knowledgeable on what was his vision and what was the ANC vision back then. So I hope you're gonna enjoy it. It's a really a mouthful. I ran into it by I would say by mistake. I was searching for something, then I ran by it. So I thought, nah, I cannot keep this to myself. I need to share to you. I need to show you the caliber of intelligence, the mental strength that he had at that age. I believe at that time he was around 77 something. So yeah, I hope you're gonna enjoy it. Here we go.
A candidate has 2 minutes to answer a question from the panel. His opponent will have 2 minutes to respond. Each will then get 1 minute to make further statements. We start with Tim Udise putting the first question to Mr. de Clerck. Tim.
Well, thank you, Clerck. Question to Mr. de Clerck. Mr. de Clerck, violence, both political and criminal, poses a number one threat to the elections, and over the past few years it has continued unabated, and seemingly the government is unable to deal with it. With that kind of record, as still incumbent president, what guarantees do you give the electorate tonight that violence will not get completely out of hand and thus subvert the forthcoming elections?
Thank you for the question, Tim. Let me start out by saying I disagree with the analysis that the government is not dealing effectively with it. Yes, there is too much violence, but the government has taken extensive steps to deal with it. In KwaZulu-Natal, there is a state of emergency. In the other trouble spot in South Africa, the PWV area, but specifically Johannesburg and surrounds, 11 districts have been declared as unrest areas. We've increased the police force by almost from 75,000 to around about 100,000. The government is taking whatever steps is possible, but its task has been made very difficult by inter alia, our main opponent, the ANC, by their demonizing of the police force, by driving a wedge between communities and the police force. Our task has been made extremely difficult by the continued existence and activities of the self-defense units and of activities also of supporters of the ANC. I sit here with 8 extracts from Goldstone reports showing that the violence in all 8 instances, and they were serious instances, in all 8 instances was attributed to ANC supporters and Inkatha supporters at each other's throats. That is not an easy problem to solve. The government has done its duty in that regard. If we look at the future, I believe that the election will lay a basis for real reconciliation in South Africa. The electoral strife will be over. It will be clear who are the winners, who are the strong parties, and in a government of national unity, our approach will be to take hands with all those who serve with us and jointly to continue to deal with the problem of violence.
Thank you, Mr. de Clerck. Mr. Mandela, your response in 2 minutes.
I deal with this question on the basis that is the duty of the leadership to put before the public a total picture. Any leader who is merely promoting the point of view of his political party is not a leader who is going to help her to pull out South Africa from this mess. And what I find unacceptable is the fact that the president should misquote the reports of Mr. Goldstone. Because if you look at his report, the police are deeply involved in this violence. You have one of the top police officers who has been suspended from his duty precisely because there are serious allegations against him of gun running, of working with murderers to murder innocent people. I have discussed these issues with Mr. de Clerck on a one-on-one basis confidentially, provided him with evidence of the activities of his police. There is one thing he does not want to know. There is one thing that he covers very, very stubbornly, and that is the involvement of senior police officials in this violence. That is the truth. That is the total picture.
Mr. de Clerck, thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. A rebuttal from you, Mr. de Clerck.
Yes, the fact of the matter is that the Goldstone Commission was an initiative of the government. And I have constantly said, if there's any evidence of any involvement of any members of the security forces in the fomenting of violence, of them being partisan, of them being involved in violence and political acts, then it must be reported to the Goldstone Commission. And the Goldstone Commission, when it brought out its report, I immediately acted. Can the ANC say the same with regard to people who have been implicated by the Goldstone Commission? They are high on the ANC's candidates lists. We have taken and will continue to take firm action if there's any evidence. Lastly, the Goldstone report in this instance refers to a small group of people. It does not refer to the whole police force, and Judge Goldstone went out of his way to emphasize that it is not the police force as such which is involved.
Thank you, Mr. de Clerck. Mr. Mandela, a final reply from you in 1 minute.
Well, again, Mr. de Clerck is not putting accurately the report from Mr. Goldstone, because that report, whilst it accepts that there are many policemen who are good, has actually laid grave charges against a senior police officer. And I don't accept the explanation which the state president has given. He has much to explain than he has done. He is less than candid in putting facts before the public.
I'm afraid there's no time left to have further explanation on that particular issue. I now invite Ferial Hafaji of SABC Radio to put her question to Mr. Mandela.
Good evening, Mr. Mandela. Everywhere you've gone on your election campaign trail, you've promised and people have demanded jobs, houses, and peace. But 7 million people don't have jobs, 3 million don't have homes, and almost 300 people have died in political and criminal violence in this month alone. Has yours been an election campaign trail of empty promises?
Not at all. We have got a plan to build a better life for all South Africans. And a better life means houses, jobs, free quality education, hospital services. We believe that these are realizable. The present budget of South Africa is 126 billion rand. Last year, the National Party government paid 10 billion rands for arms, guns, and tanks, and only 2 billion for houses. We are going to rearrange the budget so that we can be able to address the basic needs of the masses of the people. We believe that we have a very clear plan which has been discussed not only with members of the liberation movement, but with government departments, with business, with academics, state corporations, all of whom regard this plan as being reasonable and which they support. For that reason, we say that our plan is realizable.
Mr. de Clerck, thank you. Mr. de Clerck, your response in 2 minutes.
The National Party and the ANC have been promising very much the same things. We also promise houses, we also promise better education, better health facilities, and more jobs. The real test is, who has a plan which can achieve it? And I say that the National Party has a plan which can work, because we can only achieve that if we have dynamic economic growth. And we can only have dynamic economic growth if we get investments. And we'll only get investments and new factories being built and increased economic activity if we follow economic policies which are in step with our policy, because our policy is in step with the economic policies which have succeeded across this world. The ANC's policy is riddled with that which has failed. It is riddled still with clinging to nationalization. You won't get investments as long as that is the case. The ANC continues to talk about stronger government intervention and more centralist control. Those economic policies will not succeed in generating the wealth which we need. The ANC's plan is going to cost much more than they indicate. I have had an independent investigation done. In the first year, implementation of that plan will cost 70 billion rand. That 70 billion rand is just a little bit less than the total income from personal income tax of the state. It means that the taxpayers' income tax will be doubled if we have to raise the 70 billion, and that the tax on cigarettes, on beer, on petrol will also be doubled. It is not affordable, and therefore, and you can't save it from the defense budget. Mr. Mandela is bringing in 12,000 new MKs into the defense force. The defense budget is going to rise and not deplete. Therefore, we will have to generate wealth, and that is the only way.
The clock demands that I stop you there. Mr. Mandela, you can respond in 1 minute.
This is the reply of a man who is not used to addressing the basic needs of the majority of the population, whose government is committed to a small minority. He is alarmed that we have to devote so much resources to blacks whose concerns they don't care for.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please ask you to give Mr. Mandela an opportunity? We've agreed there will be no interjections. Thank you, Mr. Mandela. Go ahead.
Oh, sir. That is the reason why Mr. de Clerck has consulted some unspecified people to conduct a study. Again, I say Mr. de Clerck is less than candid in analyzing national issues. We have produced a plan. We have circulated it to everybody, including government officials. Where is their plan? Where is it?
Mr. de Clerck, you have 1 minute. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. 1 minute.
Mr. Mandela, our plan is absolutely on the table, and it has been accepted by the National Housing Forum. It was basically impeded by the ANC and ANC-supported organizations. They didn't want the plan to be realized. We have a plan which will draw in those billions of rand from the private sector. We have a good housing plan on the table which will achieve all those results. I care for all South Africans, irrespective of their race or color. But let me say, Mr. Mandela, my comments were not the comments of a man who is less than candid. They were the comments of somebody with experience, of somebody who sat in the cabinet and worked through budget since 1978 and who knows how the economy of the state works. And there is, no, it wasn't apartheid. We abolished apartheid. We made the country free. We freed all the people in this country.
Ladies and gentlemen, please give an opportunity.
And I'm giving you the assurance. When you share responsibility in that government of national unity, you will realize that we have, over the past 4 years, already cut the budget to the bone.
Thank you, Mr. de Clerck. Lester Venter, our political correspondent, has the opportunity now to put a question to Mr. de Clerck.
Thank you, Frick. Mr. de Clerck, you said earlier that the election will determine which is the strongest party. Now, if that is not the National Party, then in 2 weeks' time you will be a former state president of South Africa. And in fact, that will be a direct consequence of the process that you yourself set in motion 4 years ago. But of the many consequences to be counted in that process, South Africa today is one of the most violent places in the world. You've accused your political adversaries of bringing into government an outdated ideology, namely communism itself. As you stand today with these prospects ahead of you, are you happy with the way things have turned out with that process that you set in motion? And are you content, in fact, to now take a subservient role, if it turns out, in that government?
Thank you, Lester. Let me start out by saying the National Party has become the most representative non-racial party in South Africa. We are growing by the day, and we are going to come up with a dramatic result. So don't be too sure in the assumptions that you make. But if the ANC turns out to be the party with the largest slice of the vote, we'll firstly be very near to them. Secondly, I will become executive deputy president, not at the behest of the ANC, but in terms of the Constitution, and I will be representing in that government of national unity proudly millions and millions of moderate South Africans. And I will be putting their case, and I will be looking after their interests, and I will be cooperating with the other parties, because that is what the government of national unity is about. That we should rise above our political differences and address the challenges which we face in this country, address the needs of all our people. It is in that spirit that I say, yes, I'm happy the way it has turned out. There was no other alternative for South Africa. We were on the road to total confrontation which would have annihilated everything which has been built up in this country. We have negotiated a good balanced constitution with checks and balances. The power of politicians are effectively limited. There won't be any form of suppression. The courts will be independent. We have a good Bill of Rights in that constitution. There will be power sharing. There will be devolution. There will be federalism. Yes, I'm happy with what we achieved, and I have confidence in the future.
Mr. Mandela, your reply.
It is a source of grave concern when those who claim to be experienced make vague and starry-eyed claims which have no basis whatsoever. I must say that the African National Congress is an organization with more than 80 years of building national unity in this country.
Thank you. Thank you.
There is no organization in this country as divisive as the so-called new national party of my friend on my left. It is actually promoting racial hatred. I hope...
Please, ladies and gentlemen, please.
I hope I'll be able to demonstrate now how they are trying to turn the colored community against the African people through slogans which are totally without foundation, and where the Independent Elections Commission has condemned the National Party for promoting inflammatory and racist attitudes in the community. That is the so-called new national party. That is the false claim of building unity which my friend is making. I reject that totally.
Mr. de Clerck, you have 1 minute to reply.
I would like to start out by telling Mr. Mandela that the National Party support base amongst the so-called coloreds is a spontaneous, warm, and very strong support base. We have proven in our relationship within the party that reconciliation can work. I didn't have to intervene as leader to get a colored person appointed into an important position in the Western Cape, as Mr. Mandela had to do because his own supporters wouldn't elect one. We have a good relationship, and the coloreds are our people, my people, they're South Africans, they're wonderful people, and I totally reject the accusation that the National Party is racist. I don't have 150,000 rand fines against me in the National Party for intimidation, as the ANC now has.
Mr. de Clerck, time demands that we stop there. Mr. Mandela, a final rebuttal from yourself.
This document, the Winde van Verandering, is full of the most scandalous, outrageous, racist allegations, where they say the slogan of the African National Congress is "kill the colored, kill the bull." I challenge Mr. de Clerck to renounce that statement now. If he's less than candid. Last night when he knew you were coming to this debate.
I hope you'll forgive my being frank. Thinking very much of the kind of people who are watching this program in other countries than South Africa. Many of them are going to see the National Party as a party with a past that has not always been very good or very democratic, not always been non-violent in many ways, even within its own organization. They're going to see that you've made a number of very large election promises which have raised the expectations of people a great deal in this country. And they're going to wonder, frankly, whether South Africa, under your presidency, won't be heading down the same road that many other countries in Black Africa have. Will you, for instance, borrow money on the scale that so many other countries have? Zimbabwe, for instance. How will you deal with this problem?
Mr. Mandela?
South Africa is not a poor country. As I have said, our budget this year is 126 billion rand. We also are going to reorganize the budget, restructure the budget in order to avoid the wastage of a party. We will be able to use the country's resources in a more efficient manner and to prevent the corruption which is so endemic in the National Party government.
Please, ladies and
The
gentlemen.
gravy trains where most of the funds of the country have gone have come to an end. We have committed ourselves to leaders trying to lead a style of life similar to those of the community. I am going to suggest that my own salary, if I'm elected as state president, must be cut. I am doing that, unlike the National Party government, which has attempted to pay large sums to the Director Generals when the poor people, when there are 5 million people unemployed, when there are 7 million people without houses. We are not going to live like fat cats. My friends in the National Party can do that. That's what they know.
Mr. de Clerck. A response from Mr. de Clerck.
May I, at the outset, say that our deficit before borrowing is much too high. If we want to be in step and attract foreign investment and be sure of the support of the IMF and the World Bank, we will have to continue in South Africa to maintain strict fiscal and financial discipline. This is what the government has been doing. By doing it, and by taking other steps, we've brought down the inflation rate to single-digit figures, and soon it might be 7%. We've brought down interest rates. All our economic indicators are pointing in the right direction. I'm very glad to hear that in the government of national unity, I will have the support of Mr. Mandela in being frugal with regard to government expenses. But then we must be frugal across the board, because it is at the moment organizations allied to the ANC who are once again doing damage to the South African economy by strikes with regard to various disciplines. And through those strikes, they are firstly helping to create an atmosphere which is not conducive to free and fair elections. Secondly, they're harming the economic interests of the country. So I'm glad to hear that he's committed to fiscal and financial discipline. He won't have any difficulty with me in achieving that. But if he thinks that he can save on the salary of politicians enough to solve the economic challenges which we have in South Africa, then he's in for a big surprise.
Thank you for your cooperation, Mr. Mandela. You can have a rebuttal.
Obviously, Mr. de Clerck was not listening when I was speaking. I may well have heard that I'm happy he is going to cooperate with me if I say a state president should pay a tax on his income, on his resources, on his packs. That is what heads of state do throughout the Western world, not in South Africa. We are also going to issue government bonds, reconstruction bonds, both in South Africa and abroad, to raise the funds that we need. We are going to impose a fair tax to be paid by everybody. All these are going to help to get revenue for the country. But we are not going to live like fat cats. The days of the gravy trains are gone. Everybody should know that.
The ANC has promised lower taxes for everybody in its manifesto. Bonds which you raise also carry interest with them. And one of the biggest problems of South Africa is that the fastest growing item in our budget has been the interest on loans. Every loan that you take out needs to be repaid. And who repays it? The taxpayer. And therefore, we need across the board to ensure that we maintain fiscal discipline. That is the economic solution for the future. I have been listening very carefully to what Mr. Mandela has said. And I'm very glad that we're going to have a government of national unity, because it is clear that our experience will be absolutely essential if we want to have good government in South Africa.
We now move on to the next question. John Simpson again of the BBC, foreign editor. Your question now to Mr. de Clerck.
Another frank one, if I may. In February 1990, you assured white voters that they would have a part to play in the future political development of the country. At the end of your negotiations with the ANC, Mr. Joe Slovo of the ANC, the South African Communist Party, came out and said, I think, the Nats caved in at the end. By 1999, perhaps earlier, you won't be part of the government of national unity. Is it possible, do you think, that whites in South Africa will then perform the same function that they do in, say, Kenya or Zimbabwe? That's to say, they earn the money, earn some of the money, but they don't have any part to play whatever in the political process of the country.
Mr. de Clerck.
The answer is a frank no. I'm white, but I'm no longer the leader of a white party. I don't represent white interests. I represent a value system. And my party has support across the board from all population groups, colors, creeds and races in South Africa. If my party is not the biggest party in this election, it will definitely be so in the next election. And the whites within the National Party, and many other whites, also supporting other parties like the DP, don't look upon themselves as a little group of people who are going to sit in a corner, divorcing themselves of South Africa and its problems and its people. We're part of a South African nation. Color in the National Party's vocabulary has become unimportant. What is important is, what do you believe in? We believe in free enterprise. We believe in good family values. We believe in real peace. We believe in reconciliation. We believe in Christian norms and standards. And that is bringing together all the people across the old divisions, from all the population groups, into our party. And that is giving an impetus to our party, which assures that for those who believe in this value system, which has proven itself across the world, which is in step with the successful part of the world, will become the dominant political factor. The ANC is a conglomeration. It's going to rip apart because they don't have a clear philosophy. They live in the past.
Thank you. Your reply, Mr. Mandela. You have 2 minutes.
It is quite clear that we're dealing with somebody who either does not know what he's talking about. If he does know what he's talking about, he does not care. In the first place, it's a false statement to suggest that any one individual started the negotiation process in February. Everybody knows that negotiation is the result of the suffering of the masses of the people, supported by the international community. It is them who came out to the streets, called strikes, boycotts, who were shot and killed by the racist security police of the National Party, who threw us in jail, who turned our lives into nightmares. Those are the forces who have brought about these changes in this country. We have been dragging Mr. de Clerck and the National Party, screaming, not wanting to come forward with us on this process. There are various examples which we can quote. But we are happy, I am happy, that we are working together. I met him 3 times in prison. We agreed to work together. And that is what I'm committed to, in spite of all the differences that we have.
Mr. de Klerk, your rebuttal in 1 minute.
The National Party changed its policy to its present policy 3.5 years before Mr. Mandela was released from jail in 1986. Secondly, Mr. Mandela can't bluff with these accusations. The family of the victims of the necklace murders which we had from supporters of his organization, the people in the townships who are suppressed and intimidated by the SDUs, they know who are suppressing them. The people whose houses have been burned down know who are the guilty ones, and the parents of the children whose lives have been ruined by the misuse of education by the ANC knows who caused the misery for their children.
Mr. Mandela.
This election is about securing a better life for our people. That is what the African National Congress is concentrating upon. Mr. de Klerk is alarmed because he is a leader of a party which, even today, is maintaining a party. He is spending 3 times on education on a white child than he does on a black child. What is the reason? What is the reason if apartheid has died? He has not built houses for Africans for more than 10 years. What is the reason for that discrimination? I cannot vote. There are 5 million people unemployed.
Mr. Mandela, with respect to your need to finish, we must unfortunately leave it there. And may I point out to our audience, to the extent, of course, that you are clapping and egging your leaders on, that you are also taking their time. And may I please ask our political correspondent, Lester Fenton, now to put his question to Mr. Mandela.
Thank you, Mr. Mandela. The Inkatha Freedom Party's decision to stay out of the election, the Zulu King's claim for an independent kingdom, and the associated tensions and the violence that arise from this situation seem to be problems that will not go away soon. In fact, this country could end up with a secessionist struggle waged from KwaZulu. If, when you are in power, how do you plan to deal with this matter?
I have maintained constant dialogue with the Inkatha Freedom Party, as well as His Majesty, the Zulu King. I attach a great deal of importance to peaceful solutions of problems. And I think that it has now been demonstrated that that is a very powerful weapon. I am going to continue to talk to the Inkatha Freedom Party, to the Zulu monarch. But the situation that is taking place now in KwaZulu-Natal, where there is no free political activity in many areas in that country, where people are dying by scores, has compelled us to link the political initiative and the security measures together. We regret that because we would like to emphasize, to concentrate on the peaceful initiative. We are doing that now. We will do that after the 27th of April. We will have formidable resources of being able to ensure that we reinforce our political initiatives as a government which exercises state power. I hope we'll succeed.
Mr. de Klerk, you have 2 minutes to reply.
On this issue, there has lately been very good cooperation between the government, the National Party government, and the ANC, and specifically between the two of us. I welcome that. I was critical earlier on. I felt that the ANC did not do enough with regard to Inkatha, but that is in the past. We have met in the Kruger National Park. It was an important meeting. We have made certain proposals. The ANC came forward also with constructive proposals. Inkatha and the Zulu King also came with specific proposals, and if you analyze the proposals from all three sides, there is already really a clear framework for consensus and for agreement. We then agreed with regard to the monarchy to form a working group. That working group has reported back to its principals, and I think it's a good report. I can live with it. I have some criticism, but basically I can live with it, and I would like to thank all those who made an input. So I think the problem of the Zulu monarchy can, within the framework of the transitional constitution and the principles, be really accommodated in a very dignified way, and we need not be worried that that problem cannot be solved. Inkatha is, in the words of Chief Minister Buthelezi himself, not a Zulu party. My analysis is that Inkatha has made major mistakes by not participating. I've bent over backwards from time to time, making new suggestions how to bring them aboard. Together with the multi-party forum, we have called Parliament together, changed the Constitution, and brought in 5, 6 fundamental changes which really accommodated their most potent objections to the first version of December.
I'm obliged to stop you there, Mr. de Clerck. Mr. Mandela, the last few words on this matter.
We must also always assess the statements made by Mr. de Clerck about the Inkatha Freedom Party, that this is his former ally. They use funds, state funds, in order to finance the murderous activities of the Inkatha Freedom Party. Mr. de Clerck admitted in July 1991 that they had given 8 million rand of our tax, of our money, to Inkatha. He admitted that. He had earlier admitted that they had given 250,000 rand to Inkatha. Always assess his statement in regard to Inkatha against that background.
Mr. de Clerck.
I find the sudden aggression of Mr. Mandela on this issue strange. It is the one thing that we have been cooperating well on. Can I just say that Mr. Mandela is referring to historical situations? I have stopped all the covert actions, and the Khan Committee under Professor Khan has monitored it and has assured me now that he is happy with the way in which all the covert activities which took place without my knowledge have been properly put under the table, and it's finished. Can I just say that as far as Inkatha is concerned, we are near to each other because they also believe in free enterprise, because they also believe in federalism. It is a policy bond, yes, which exists between us, but this government does not fund murderous activities.
Time is up on this issue. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I invite again now Ferry Al-Hafaji of SABC Radio to put the question to Mr. de Clerck.
Thank you, Clerck. Mr. de Clerck, many people believe that your government is not being accountable. There have been 3 years of third force allegations. Nobody's taken the rap for it, although you may have appointed a number of commissions. Many billions of rands have been lost to corruption. Again, nobody's taken the rap for it. How do we ensure accountability in the future, especially under a government of national unity, where there's no opposition watchdog?
The National Party government has already put into place the instruments to ensure that accountability. We have strengthened the position of the Auditor General. We have made him more independent. We have appointed an ombudsman, and we have given that ombudsman more powers. apart from all the commissions that we've instituted, we've built into the financial and administrative control system absolute improved systems to ensure that this is properly dealt with. But most of the corruption that you refer to took place in some of the homelands. And if you analyze the reports, you will find that the emphasis was, for instance, on Leboa and on Kwandebele. Those two homelands were run by Chief Minister Ramodike and Chief Minister Mashlangu. They are now on the ANC's candidate list. well knowing that that corruption took place under their administration. I am against corruption, and I have a proud record. This government has a proud record of absolutely, fearlessly following up every allegation of corruption. And whenever anyone was found to be guilty, firm steps were taken. Accountability of the government comes into being when there was negligence or where there is knowledge. And in none of these instances has any government member been accused of negligence or of having had knowledge of the corruption which was uncovered.
Mr. Mandela, your response.
There is no transparency or accountability insofar as the National Party government. When we held a commission of inquiry into allegations of violation of human rights, we published our report. We took South Africa into confidence. He appointed a commission, General Piristay, to investigate the activities of the MI. He did dismiss certain officers. I then asked him to give me that report, because I said to him, that report has got a confirmation of the existence of the third force. I have not got that report from him even now. I am the leader of the most important political voice in this country. I started negotiations when I was in jail. I discussed it with him. I discussed it with Kobi Kutie, quite apart from the contribution of the masses of the people. But he has not given me that report. The reason? Because it has got a concrete evidence of the existence of the third force. That is the reason why there is no transparency in the statement which Mr. de Clerck is making is less than candid. That is the reality.
Opportunity for a rebuttal. Mr. de Clerck, you have 1 minute.
Minister Coetzee and I have explained, I think now 3 times, the situation with regard to the so-called Steyn report, and I'm really not going to do it. I only have a minute. It wasn't a report of that nature, but I took steps. There was a transparency with regard to the Commission's report on the detention camps. But were they acted against by the ANC? No, they once again high up on the candidates list. The very people who have been implicated by that Commission are now maybe ministerial candidates in the government of national unity, having been implicated by that Commission. The ANC should take steps against their supporters who make themselves guilty of atrocities or of any unacceptable behavior. That is what we are doing constantly.
Opportunity for a final reply, Mr. Mandela.
He has completely evaded my question. I am saying, if that report was innocent, he would have published it. He would have given to me. I am his partner. We are trying to solve these problems together. We are trying to promote a mutual confidence so that we, the two of us, and other players, can persuade the government of national unity to build this mutual confidence, to proceed with the task of nation building. He has not given me that report. Why?
We must leave the issue there. And now for the final question from my colleague, also from Radio Metro, Tim Modise, and it goes to Mr. Mandela.
Thank you, Clerck. Mr. Mandela, we've been listening to the promises of the ANC, the National Party, tonight. The ordinary man and woman in the street is watching this and is listening. They want to know, are they going to feel safe on the streets after the government of national unity has been elected? They want to know if they will be recipients or whether there will be delivery of social services given the strikes that have been taking place, especially in the homelands. They want to know if public violence and criminal violence is going to be eradicated completely in South Africa. Above that, they want to know if there will ever be racial reconciliation in this country.
The African National Congress is committed to national reconciliation and to nation building. There is no organization in this country which has issued a policy statement to compare with the Freedom Charter, which is the most devastating attack on all forms of racialism. We have come out with a clear program to ensure a better life, to build houses, to offer employment, to provide a free quality education. But you must remember that violence is not caused by those who carry a gun, by those who steal. It is also caused by poverty, illiteracy, hunger. All these are evils of apartheid. We are going to address these problems and restructure the police force so that it could be a community police.
Mr. de Clerck.
I and the National Party share the deep concern of all our people about the violence. And within the government of national unity, which will no longer have any legitimacy problem, I believe that we will be able to address it through, firstly, restructuring, improving the economy. If our policy is followed, then we will succeed with that. Unemployment is one of the problems of crime and violence. The so-called lost generation, the millions of young South Africans, mostly of them black, who are not properly trained, who left school early, they need to be looked at. And at an earlier occasion, Mr. Mandela and I have already talked about it, that in the government of national unity we will have to address this problem in an imaginative way. Yes, I believe that through economic growth, through improvement of social conditions, which can then be afforded because there is economic growth, we can improve the quality of life of our people. We have already started to improve the relationships between the police and the community. And I'm fully in favor of community policing, and the new constitution makes provision for that. I hope that the election will also bring to an end the demonization of our police force. We only have one police force in South Africa. 1/3 of them are at the moment almost full-time busy in preventing or fighting or managing political unrest and political violence. Hopefully, when the election is over, those policemen and women will also be able once again to concentrate on crime prevention and on accosting criminals and on bringing them to book. I really believe that the election will bring us to the end of this violent period.
I must stop you there. Mr. de Clerck, we are doing very well on time. You are very disciplined, both of you. I will give you 1.5 minutes each now to respond. Mr. Mandela.
The exchanges between Mr. de Clerck and I should not obscure one important fact about our country. I think we are a shining example to the entire world of people drawn from different racial groups who have a common loyalty, a common love to their common country. That is the dominating issue. We are going to fight these issues out. But we have men and women in this country who have a reason, who are honoring the ideals of liberty and democracy in this country. And in spite of my criticism of Mr. de Clerck, sir, you are one of those I rely upon that we are going to face the problems of this country together and with other stakeholders.
Thank you for those kind words, Mr. Mandela. I can also testify that on major issues such as nation building, we are finding it possible to work together. Can I say that we won't have peace before we have real reconciliation? This election is about the future. It is not about the past. And until we bury the bitterness of the past, until one can never forget injustice, but you can forgive. And we need forgiveness. We need reconciliation. We need to put our hands in each other's hands, and all the population groups need to say, we need each other. We have a common destiny. Let us work together. And that is why I'm so satisfied that we have agreed upon a government of national unity, because that is the instrument we need to lead this country towards that nationhood which will make us all proud South Africans and which will ensure that we as a country will move forward together.
An answer session. I will now ask each of you to have a final closing statement. We have some time. I will give you 4 minutes. Mr. de Clerck, as agreed, you will go first.
Having come to the end of this debate, I would like to appeal to all the voters out there, firstly, who have not decided as yet for whom to vote, to seriously consider their position. We need a balance of power. There is only one party which can form that balance of power against the ANC, which is a strong party with wide support. They're the favorites, and that is the National Party. It is a new national party, notwithstanding what has been said. It is a party which has renewed itself from within. It was an internal process. We've cleansed ourselves from within. We have admitted that our past policies led to injustice. We've apologized for that, and we say we have a job to do. We also want to rectify those injustices. This new national party is a growing party. This new national party is fighting to become the biggest party, not for jobs for ourselves, but because we believe in the values for which we stand. We believe in sound family values. We believe that parents should still be parents and that children shouldn't deal with parents and grown-ups as is happening in our country at the moment. We believe in Christian norms and standards. We believe in free enterprise. We believe in universal human rights and feel that the Bill of Rights need to be strengthened. We believe in religious freedom. And we care about the needs of our people. We know many people are suffering. We must accept the challenge to fight hunger, to fight poverty, to ensure that more and more jobs will be created, to build homes for the homeless, to improve the quality of education, to bring primary health care nearer to the people. We have accepted it as a party. And we will work together with all those who also stand for that. And on peace, we are committed to peace. Our hands are clean. The National Party, none of the National Party supporters are involved in violence. We're a peaceful party, and everybody who knows our party can testify as to that. And if one of our party members get out of line, we discipline them. The National Party believes in the future of this country and all its people. We see our country on the threshold of a new, wonderful, prosperous era. The whole of Africa wants us to succeed. The whole of Africa is reaching out towards a successful conclusion of the process in South Africa because Africa needs us. The international community wants us to succeed because they realize that South Africa has a pivotal role to play not only in Africa, but also globally. The whole world is waiting for us to succeed. Because what we have embarked upon in South Africa, all the leaders of all the parties together, has not succeeded in many countries elsewhere. There is a way. And that way is the real tolerance and the real commitment to peace and the adherence to workable policies which have succeeded elsewhere. That is the way, and that is the way of the new National Party, for which I ask the support of all the voters out there.
Thank you. Mr. Mandela, final closing statement from you.
Just before I deal with my statement, I would have liked to know from Mr. de Clerck, who was disciplined when 8 million of taxpayers' money was given to Inkatha Freedom Party? That was in July 1991. Who was disciplined? These vague statements are counterproductive because they lead to the conclusion that Mr. de Clerck is less than frank in making important statements on national issues. But I want to say that various points of view have been expressed here. I wanted to assure you that on the 27th of April, you will make your choice. And I don't doubt what it is going to be. The choice will be whether you wanted the same problems to continue within the next 5 years. Massive unemployment, limited opportunities, continued racial division, or whether you wanted the beginning of a new era of hope, of peace, of security, where the basic needs of everybody have been attended to. Here, we are saying the ANC has the most cogent plan to deal with this situation. The fact that Mr. de Clerck, when we asked for his comprehensive plan to deal with these basic needs, he can only tell us of some document he has given to the Housing Forum. There is no evidence at all of the circulation. I have never received it. He has never given to me. I have been with him very frequently. Where is their
Final closing statement from you.
Just before I deal with my statement, I would have liked to know from Mr. de Clerck, who was disciplined when 8 million of taxpayers' money was given to Inkatha Freedom Party? That was in July 1991. Who was disciplined? These vague statements are counterproductive because they lead to the conclusion that Mr. de Clerck is less than frank in making important statements on national issues. But I want to say that various points of view have been expressed here. I wanted to assure you that on the 27th of April, you will make your choice. And I don't doubt what it is going to be. The choice will be whether you wanted the same problems to continue within the next 5 years. Massive unemployment, limited opportunities, continued racial division, or whether you want at the beginning of a new era of hope, of peace, of security, where the basic needs of everybody have been attended to. Here, we are saying the ANC has the most cogent plan to deal with this situation. The fact that Mr. de Clerck, when we asked for his comprehensive plan to deal with these basic needs, he can only tell us of some document he has given to the housing forum. There is no evidence at all of the circulation. I have never received it. He has never given to me. I have been with him very frequently. Where is their plan? With whom was it discussed? But we are saying, let us work together.
Please.
Let us work together for reconciliation and nation building. I am proud to hold your hand for us to go forward together. Let us work together to end divisions and suspicions. I have traveled throughout this country, spoken to thousands of people. I know that they deserve a better life. They deserve a better future. And the only organization I'm calling upon you to vote for is the African National Congress. If you vote for the African National Congress, you are voting for an organization which has got an experience of more than 80 years in nation building. It's an organization which will never issue documents of this nature, which today in 1994 says, Husak, why are you not with your people? Why are you with Africans? It is the most divisive party in this country. If you want national unity, that is the organization I lead, the African National Congress.
Thank you, Mr. Mandela. We must leave it there. Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. May I thank both of you for the spirit of this debate. And with that, we come to the end of this historic broadcast from the Johannesburg Civic Theatre Complex. We bid you good night.
Okay, we're back. I hope you did enjoy it. It's mouthful, man. The way that he handles the questions, the way that he articulates his plan, the way that he talks about what he believes in, the way that he answers all the questions that are thrown to him, and also the way he counter attack de Klerk. Man, it's amazing. This guy, he was really knowledgeable. Whatever had happened after he was elected, or whatever that led him to being elected, now it's another debate. But his mind and his mental power is something that we need to be proud of. It's something that we need to learn from as the youth in Africa, as the youth in diaspora also. So these kind of things are the things that we need to be proud of, that we need to play to our kids time and again, so that they can understand what was going on. So what I'm saying, so yeah, I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, even if you didn't enjoy it, please subscribe. Make sure that you leave your comments and like, so that we can get the numbers. It's not all about numbers. The numbers are important so that we can reach more people, because the knowledge that I'm giving to you is really important. It's not the knowledge that you can keep to yourself, man. Don't be selfish. Share the videos. Share to the people that are interested in knowing about Africa, in knowing about the power of a black man. The power is in your hand. The power is in with you. You need to understand what is going on. You need to understand that without you, as a black man, this world wouldn't be like this, the way that it is now. Even if how fucked up it is, you still had play a part in it. So yeah, thanks for watching. I'm out.